Hi everyone, and welcome to Ignite Seattle. This is the 41st annual Ignite, an evening of 12 5-minute talks from speakers in our community telling us what they're passionate about. I'm Eliza, hosting part of tonight's live stream with Real Girls Productions. We'd also like to thank Punch Drunk Productions for their support in this event. Tonight, I'll be guiding you through a little bit more information about Ignite, more information about Real Girls, as well as an introduction to our MC and some speaker and audience interviews. So stay tuned for that. We're going to start off with a short video about Ignite.
Ignite's a sprint talk, so it's 5 minutes. It's all the time you get.
Ooh, Ignite is a bunch of people being brave and giving 5-minute talks.
What's your story? Ignite is validation of the idea that everybody has a story. And if they get a platform with a supportive community and some coaching, they can say something that can change people's lives.
It is a quick, inspirational talk. What did you say? How do you call it? Enlighten us, but make it quick.
So Ignite is 5-minute talks, 20 slides per talk, 15 seconds a slide. The slides auto advance.
And I always think of Ignite Seattle being a very Seattle-focused experience. Like, you hear people are doing super interesting things in Seattle, and I think the audience is looking for that and wanting someone to stand up and say, I'm working on something that you've never heard about, and I'm going to blow your mind about how cool it is.
We want you!
Hi everyone, and welcome back. For those just joining us, this is Real Girls Live at Ignite Seattle. Now I would like to give a little more information about Real Girls. So we are a video production company who empowers women and non-binary filmmakers to get involved in the film industry. We're available for hire for all of your video production needs, and you can also connect with us on our social medias or website. Actually, during the show, you can use the hashtag RealGirlsLive, and that's RealGirlsLive, and you can tell us what you would give an Ignite talk about or an Ignite talk that you'd really like to see. Now, I'll give an example of Real Girls Productions' work. This is a video about South Lake Union that we created for the Seattle Transportation Department. So we'll be right back after the video.
The transportation system that's worked in Seattle for the last 3 decades is not necessarily something that's going to continue to be relevant for the next 3 decades. You only have to look back 100 years to the founding of this city. In those days, it was timber and fisheries. Today, it's technology and biotech. Today, we have 50,000 people that live and work in South Lake Union that weren't here 15 years ago.
And so think about how you might change your route even just to be able to take advantage of some of the options that are being put into place. Now, if you're an employer, one of the main things you could do to take a lot of the hassle out of this is just to contact Commute Seattle, because they work with employers to figure out how they can get their employees to work in different fashions. The City of Seattle has a comprehensive plan that guides us in all of our policies. We develop a transit master plan, a bike master plan, a ped master plan, and a freight master plan. And they all have recommendations that align with the policies that the elected officials and the people of the city have asked for.
Being adaptive is critically important. Glazer's Camera is a great example of that.
Glazer's is a family business. We've been located here in South Lake Union since the mid-1980s. Some of the challenges of being located in South Lake Union are just the access in and out of the neighborhood. Having different options for transportation is a huge priority. We decided to implement the Orca card program, number one, because our employees were asking for it. People have told me, like, this is the benefit that's changed my life the most.
My Orca card is my main source of transportation. It's vital. being able to use those public transportation options is very important to me. It saves me over $100 a month than I was paying before.
I would sometimes drive during the week and park really far away and walk, and now I can get on one bus and be here and not have to worry about parking and tickets and all that fun stuff.
This has been a really tangible way that has improved the lives of our staff.
So what excites me about the future of South Lake Union, it's not necessarily what we are building, but it's about how we're building it. And that's very sustainable. As the neighborhood grows, we will have to commute together. Walking, biking, and taking transit will continue to become more accessible, more fun, and more frequent. Reach out to Commute Seattle to learn more about South Lake Union's transit opportunities.
Hi everyone, welcome back. And for anyone just joining us, this is Real Girls Live at Ignite Seattle. We are back and we are going to talk to one of our speakers for tonight. And while you're watching that, be sure you're using our hashtag RealGirlsLive. Tell us what you would give an Ignite talk about. Gavin Verhey is going to be the first interviewee for tonight. He will be giving a speech about the most glad you'll be all March. Gavin, come on in.
Hello.
Hi. So how are you feeling in anticipation for your talk tonight?
I'm feeling great. This crowd looks energetic and exciting, and I'm so glad to be here at Ignite talking about March Gladness.
Yeah, we're all excited to hear your talk. So what initially inspired you to come participate in Ignite?
Well, so my friend Zach Cohn is one of the producers at Ignite. He's been telling me about it for ages, and I've been waiting for the right time. And finally, I had this weekend available. I had a cool talk idea, and I was like, let's go for it.
That's great. All right. And what has been the most challenging or exciting process in preparing for your speech?
All the rehearsing, it's like you have to make 20 slides, which isn't actually that hard. It takes some time, but you have to nail the slides because they show up every 15 seconds. They're not stopping for you. So being at home, watching it go through time and time and time again. But the good news is it's a 5-minute talk. So you can practice tons of times every hour.
All right. And what do you want the audience to go home thinking more about? What do you want their takeaway to be after your talk?
I want them to think about what they can go and create. One, I want them to try and create something like March Gladness or come participate in mine. But also, I feel like there's so much great creativity out there in the world that people could leverage their social media to do. And I want to inspire them to go do things like that.
That's great. All right. And then I don't want to give away too much of your talk, but if you want to say in sort of a general sense, what importance do games have in your life?
Absolutely tremendous. I've been playing games since I was a little kid, and now I'm a game designer. I make games for a living, and I've been doing it for over 8 years, so it means a lot to me. And my talk today is about March Gladness, a game I run on Facebook every year, which is basically a bracket of fun things that go head-to-head all the way until there's an ultimate champion at the end of March. So it's a fun little thing I run, and I think everyone out there could do to create a little bit of gamemanship in their life.
All right, that's great. Is there anything else you'd like to add for the audience at home?
No, just thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you're a fan out there, if you've never heard of me, come check it out. Facebook.com/Gavin.Verhey will get you right to March Gladness, and I hope to see you out there this year.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much. I'm excited to hear you talk.
Yeah.
All right, that was Gavin Verhey, and he's going to be talking about. Hold on. He's going to be talking about the most glad you'll be all March. So next we have our speaker, Jana Morelli, who's giving a talk about the day my heart stopped 14 times. Jana, come in. Go back to the other. Yeah. Hi, Jana. How are you feeling in anticipation for your speech tonight?
I am so excited. The energy here is fantastic. People are ready to tell their stories, and all these people are ready to listen. It is exciting.
That's great. All right, and what initially inspired you to come participate in Ignite?
Oh, I have a lot of really good friends who believe in me, and they said, Jana, you've got to come tell your story. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it.
That's great. All right, and I don't want to give away too much about your speech, but it is a very emotional and personal story. So how has that influenced how you prepare for this event?
It's a great question, because I think yesterday I was really focused on getting my speech perfect, and then today I decided, no, perfection out the window, we're going to be real. So we'll see.
That's great. That's great. And what do you want the audience to take away from your speech?
I think that every single day is precious, and every day you're here, live it to the max. You know that you have an opportunity, you have a tomorrow, let's go get it.
All right, and then I know we'll have a little bit more information about this in your speech, but for anyone at home who might be wary about becoming an organ donor, what would you say to them?
I would say that organ donors are the most amazing heroes on the planet. And it doesn't take much to decide you're going to be an organ donor and to tell your family, but it has changed my family's entire life and my entire life. And I hope that listening to my story today might help people make that decision.
That's great. Very important message. All right, I'm excited to hear your speech tonight. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, now we've heard from two of our speakers, and we'll be having a short introduction to our MC. So tonight it is going to be Sumit Basu, who actually gave an Ignite speech back in 2018, and we are going to be playing his Ignite speech, which is demystifying the Instant Pot. We'll be right back after this video.
So how many people here have heard of the Instant Pot? And how many people have thought about getting an Instant Pot, but have thought that maybe you're not quite ready? All right, well, this talk is for you. So first, some disappointing news. The Instant Pot does not instantly or at any other speed make pot. Nor does the Instant Pot fry chicken or dehydrate vegetables, even though a lot of people on the internet seem to think that it does. And there's a lot of things the Instant Pot can do, but it doesn't mean that you should do them. For instance, you could make your Thanksgiving turkey in the Instant Pot, but if you do, you're going to have a stewy, soupy mess, and I wouldn't recommend it. You have better tools in your kitchen for that. What the Instant Pot can do, and can do extremely well, is to cook under pressure. And it's probably the best tool you have in your kitchen for doing that. Notice how he likes Bowie more. But like, you know, if you have another pressure cooker, you don't need an Instant Pot, but if you don't, I mean, this pot's amazing. So I want to talk a little bit about the science of pressure cooking, because a lot of people, I think, have the wrong mental model. They think all that pressure is infusing flavor into your food. That's not really what happens. What happens is increasing the pressure increases the boiling point of water, just like increasing political pressure increases the boiling point in Washington. So instead of boring 100 degrees Celsius boiling water, you have 120 degrees Celsius superheated boiling water and steam. And when you have 120 degrees Celsius superheated boiling water and steam, all the chemical reactions that make cooking work are happening at 4 times the rate. So cell walls are breaking down, flavors are blending together, all at 4 times the rate. So there are pros and cons to this. On the pro side, you can make amazing food very quickly. You can make chili from dried beans in under an hour. But on the downside, you've got superheated steam to contend with, and that can be dangerous. So in the interest of safety, I'm going to sing you the Instant Pot safety song, and you're welcome to sing along with me. I'm a little Instant Pot, big and stout. Turn my vent valve and the weight pops out. If you turn it backwards, the steam comes out. Do it too soon and you'll scream and shout. Seriously, don't worry about explosions. Don't worry about explosions, worry about superheated steam. So along those same lines, I want to talk about some other rookie mistakes. I've made pretty much all of them, and I hope by talking about them tonight, you can avoid those same mistakes I've made. So the first one is to always put a ring on it. And by that, I mean the silicone sealing ring. And this comes with your Instant Pot, but it doesn't come installed, so you have to actually put it into the lid. If you don't put it in, your Instant Pot will never come to pressure. It's the #1 mistake. The next one is that you need to have enough water in the Instant Pot. The Instant Pot depends on water to produce steam, which produces pressure. So if you don't have at least half a cup of liquid water, you're not going to be able to get to pressure. At the same time, you don't want to have too much water. So if you're used to cooking in a big pot, covering everything with water and expecting a bunch of it to boil off, that can't happen in the Instant Pot because it's all sealed inside. So you want to make sure to use only as much water as you want broth in the end. Another point is that if you get recipes from the internet, you'll see a lot of them end with asking for 20 to 30 minutes of NPR. They're not talking about listening to the radio. They're talking about natural pressure release. It means waiting long enough for the pot to cool down and the steam to subside so you can open the pot. Okay, winter is coming to Seattle. And my favorite thing about winter is stew. And stew is one of the most rewarding and easiest things that you can actually make in the Instant Pot. So let's talk about the principles of making stew in the pot. So the first and most important thing is to use bone-in meat, because then you don't need to use any broth. You can just put in water, and all those chemical reactions and spices will produce an amazing broth for you. If you're vegetarian, use bone-in vegetables. And here's a few tips from my mom about how to make a regular stew into an amazing stew. Number 1, whole bay leaves. Number 2, whole cinnamon sticks. Number 3, whole cloves. And number 4, turmeric. Okay, so once you've made this amazing stew, how do you clean that Instant Pot? Well, it turns out you can just make a batch of the most delicious yogurt you've ever made, because the weak acids from the yogurt making process will actually bring the pot to a mirror shine. It's pretty cool. Well, that's all I've got for today. But of course, there's a lot more. If you want, if you want more cooking videos, or if you want to see more art, or if you want to find out what happened to the bear, please check out my website at that'sgreat.org. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, welcome back. And for anyone just joining us, this is Real Girls Live at Ignite Seattle. And as you're watching, don't forget to be using that hashtag RealGirlsLive. That's RealGrrls Live. And tell us what your Ignite talk would be about, or an Ignite talk that you would really like to see. Now we'll be introducing one of our audience members and asking them a few questions about tonight's event. Come on in. Hi, so could you introduce yourself with your name and where you're from?
Sure. I'm Kelly, and I am from Seattle as far as 3 months.
All right, it's great to have you here. So what inspired you to come to Ignite Seattle?
I saw it posted online, and it sounded like a really cool event to check out a lot of different topics, and with so many different ones, can't get bored.
Yeah, all right. And is there anything particular you're excited about for tonight?
One of them stood out to me. It was called World Schooling, which I imagine is a play on homeschooling and travel, which I love, so I'm hoping that's interesting.
All right, is there anything else you'd like to add for the audience watching at home?
Just hope you enjoy as much as we are here.
All right, yep, I hope you enjoy the rest of tonight's talks. It's great to meet you. All right, now that we've heard from one of our audience members, we are finishing up and heading into tonight's event. So we'll be watching 12 5-minute talks from 12 passionate speakers. So once again, I am Eliza with Real Girls Productions. Be sure to use that hashtag RealGirlsLive, and we'll be right back after the show.
Hello, Seattle! Welcome to Seattle Ignite number 41. I'm your guest host, Sumit Basu, and I am so excited. I'm so excited to be here. I have wanted to be part of this event from the very first time I saw it more than 10 years ago, and I'm so excited to be here. And apparently, you are all so excited too, because you here bought more tickets for tonight than we have ever sold in the history of Ignite. We sold 1,000 tickets. We sold out Town Hall. And I'm pretty sure I know why that is. When I look at the incredible set of speakers and talks we have tonight, this is just going to be one of the most amazing nights that we have ever had at Ignite. I know it, you know it, that's why you're here. So let's give a round of applause to those speakers right now. Okay, so I'm going to get things started with a little talk that tells you about the mechanics of Ignite and how everything works, and what better way to do that than with an Ignite talk. But before then, I've got one order of business. I see a few empty seats in these first few rows, and I would love to have those be full for our speakers tonight. So if anyone's willing to jump in and get one of those seats, I have got drink tickets with your name on it, especially if your name is Admit One. Drink ticket for you, drink ticket for you. Oh, got more. You're welcome. Here, give the one to that guy. Cool. All right, all right. So are we ready to get this show on the road? Here we go. So welcome to Town Hall. This historic building was actually first finished in 1922, so it's almost 100 years old. We did renovations last year, and we're so happy to be back in this historic place. Our mission here at Ignite Seattle is to share diverse and challenging ideas through the power of storytelling to a growing community of open minds. That's you, and you're a very important part of this equation. The format tonight is going to be 6 by 6. So we're going to have 6 totally amazing, mind-blowing talks, and you are going to be so blown away that you're going to need a break. So you're going to go get some drinks, you're going to get some refreshments, then you're going to come back. And then you have your mind blown all over again by 6 more amazing talks. So our format is something unique. We have 20 slides, but they're on auto advance. They just go every 15 seconds. So once the talk starts, the speakers have no control of their slides. So it's going to be a wild ride. It's a lot of fun. Here's our topics for tonight. We had to select them from a whole bunch of submissions. It was hard to do, but we're really happy and really excited about the talks that we have for you tonight. And here's a first look at our speakers. These are our lovely and wonderful speakers. They are going to tell you stories that will make you laugh. They're going to make you cry. They're going to have you on the edge of your seat all night. You are going to be so thrilled with their stories. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about what it's like to be a speaker up here. Now, it takes a great deal of courage and vulnerability to tell a deeply personal story to even one other person. And imagine how much more courage and vulnerability it takes to share that story with a faceless and nameless audience of 1,000 people. But here's the thing. You are no nameless and faceless audience. You have a reputation as being one of the most supportive and one of the loudest audiences in all the world. So why don't we show everyone just how loud we can be? This is great. You're jumping to the gun. So we're going to make you do actually another cheer, because there you go. Yeah, now, cheer even more. All right. That's good. That's a good warm-up cheer. I'm excited. All right. So, I don't want to make the speakers nervous or anything, but the audience might be up to 7 billion people. We are streaming live on the web on igniteseattle.com/live, and we are doing that through our partnership with Punch Drunk Videos. They're an amazing video partner. You're going to see them around doing the video work. They also help us editing the videos and getting them up onto our YouTube channel for posterity so that the event goes way beyond this room and tonight. So thank you so much for your help. So, if you like social media, we love social media. We are all over the social medias of all the kinds. So if you post about us, we love it. If you do, please use hashtag IgniteC on all that stuff, and we will find it. It will come back to us, and we'd love to see all your posts. Okay, guest MC, it's me. Thank you. But tonight is not about me. Tonight is about Ignite. And Ignite could not happen without an army of volunteers, not just the organizers. We've got photographers out there who are volunteering. We've got other people who are volunteering. It is an all-volunteer army. And we're also a 501c3, so if you're feeling generous, we would love your contributions to keep this engine moving. Okay, the next Ignite is already scheduled Thursday, June 4th. So tickets are on sale, and they're on super sale tonight for $5. They become $10 tomorrow and $15 eventually. But more important than getting your tickets tonight is thinking about what your talk's going to be about. Because you are going to get so inspired tonight. You are going to hear these talks. You're going to think of 12 ideas, and I want you to write them down and put them on the site. Because we want to have you coming up here to share your stories with us, because that's what this is all about. All right, a little bit more about our sponsors. So Real Girls Seattle has been amazing, helping us with rehearsal space. They're also doing interviews and some intermission content. Brady Harvey Photography is doing a lot of the event photography tonight. You'll see them around as well. Then 4Culture and Mind Hatch are supporting us with financial grants. Greatly appreciative of that. And Sticker Giant is helping us with all the stickers that you've seen out at the event today. So a hand for all of our sponsors, please. We appreciate you so much. Okay, last thing. If you're 21 plus, there is an after party at the Hideout, one of my favorite cocktail bars in the city. It's just a few blocks away. Please come down, share a drink, talk about what happened, and we'll remind you about this again because we love parties. Okay, that's it. That was your first Ignite Talk. Okay, everyone, so are we ready for the greatest Ignite Seattle ever? Are you ready? Are you ready? Sounds like you're ready. Well, our first speaker tonight is Haley Shapley, and she's going to tell us about the wheel deal with suffrage. Haley.
100 years ago, I wasn't guaranteed the right to vote in this country. Neither were about half of you in the audience tonight. But 99.5 years ago, that changed. There are reasons for that sometimes get overlooked. One of those is the bicycle. Prior to the late 1880s, bicycles were considered death-defying contraptions that only young daredevils would dream of attempting to ride. That was for good reason. Even the names of these early models imply danger. Consider the Bone Shaker, which offered an extremely bumpy ride on wooden wheels. Or the Penny Farthing, whose seat was up to 5 feet off the ground, putting riders at great risk for hard falls. In fact, to ride one of these, you had to know how to take a header. That is, catapult head first over your handlebars without breaking your neck. The safety bicycle came along and changed everything. Its wheels were approximately the same size. Its pneumatic tires provided a smooth ride, even on paved surfaces. And its functional pedals made turning corners simple. It was the 1890s version of going viral. In 1897 alone, 2 million bicycles were sold in the United States. But the bike was more than just a fitness craze. It changed the very landscape of women's rights. With a bike, a woman could travel on her own without a chaperone. She could get some exercise and meet up with friends. She could shed the layers that had kept her quite literally constrained. Fashion may seem trivial, but clothes mattered, and there was now a very real reason for women to wear more sensible garments. Bloomers, higher hemlines, and baggy knee-length trousers known as knickerbockers all came into vogue. Shoving that corset into the back of a dresser drawer let loose a lot more than just a woman's internal organs. Doctors were supportive of this new hobby, saying it helped ease childbirth by developing the uterine muscles and citing the positive effects that riding in the fresh air had on conditions like exhaustion and depression. Of course, there were also the naysayers. They argued that the saddle of a bike could do some pretty terrible things, like induce the start of menstruation, cause contracted vaginas, lead to collapsed uteruses, and maybe even, horror of horrors, become a secret way to masturbate. I don't know, this woman does look suspiciously happy to me. Some suggested that showing one's ankles was really just an invitation for lewd commentary. So as a point of clarification, yes, my ankles are showing tonight, and no, it's not an invitation from me to you. Others, if that weren't enough to deter women, they could be warned about bicycle face, an unseemly condition in which the eyes bulged and the jaw clenched forever. I think the most vicious thing I have ever seen in all my life is a woman on a bicycle, wrote a contributor to the Sunday Herald in 1891. I had thought that cigarette smoking was the worst thing a woman could do, but I have changed my mind. Inhaling a carcinogenic substance doesn't practically change the power dynamics in society, but learning that you can choose where and when you go somewhere certainly does. Women's rights activist Susan B. Anthony put it this way: "Let me tell you what I think about bicycling," she said. "I think it has done more to emancipate women than anything else in the world. It gives women a feeling of freedom and self-reliance. I stand and rejoice every time I see a woman ride by on a wheel, the picture of free, untrammeled womanhood." In the fight for suffrage, bikes sometimes played a direct role. Campaigners used them to travel to spread their message and hung banners off the handlebars. In one instance in England, suffragists blocked Winston Churchill's motorcade with their bikes in order to make a point. But there was more to it than that. Getting that little taste of independence was the spark that lit the fire for women to want to pursue more rights. Sometimes I look at my bike sitting in my storage unit, and I think of these steep Seattle hills, and I feel like it's not worth it. Sometimes voting can feel like an uphill battle, too. But I look at it differently now, as we celebrate the 100th anniversary this year of the 19th Amendment going into effect. I've had the right to vote my entire adult life, and for that, I thank my bicycle. And the women more than a century ago who felt the wind whipping against their petticoats and the excitement of independence and wanted more. Thank you.
Okay, let's give her another hand. That was amazing. That was amazing, right? Way to start it off with a bang. All right, now who's gonna ride their bikes to the polling stations now? Like, you're gonna do it? Get that bike out of storage. All right. Our next speaker tonight is Sid Fredrickson, and she's gonna talk to us about co-living the dream.
Communication, belonging, transparency. These are important values in my home, which we've made explicit. And I really appreciate that because I like a life that is aligned with intention. You know, being the way I want to see the world. So it's also very convenient that I live in a group, co-living, I should say, in a group with shared values. And that means we share daily life and responsibilities managing for that house. I've lived in various communities intentionally, that type, from rural to urban ones. I helped start a few, and I've been networking among them for about 30 years. Right now, as I say, I lived in Seattle, renting with 4 other adults. And we make it a community. So intentional community is a term that's umbrella, broadly cast to include co-housing, ashrams, cohabitation, communes, and the like. And we have some that are in Seattle that you may have heard of, especially co-housing. This is something where there's an ownership model. There's a neighborhood that is custom designed, or it can be a condominium, one building, where each household owns their own unit plus access to common space. Now, there's a handful, but turnover is quite low, and the cost to get in is high, as well as building more new. So we have this shortage of affordable housing in Seattle, renting or buying. And people are clamoring to be in the city, but they can't, so we have congestion causing crazy commutes. And also, sadly, we have some people experiencing homelessness, some chronically, some just newly evicted, searching for a more affordable option. So with increasing population, gentrification, and perhaps in the future climate refugees, it could get worse unless we do something very different. One option is there are homes with no one in them, or one person. And these would work nicely for shared groups with values like my house, or at least a couple of housemates. And I'm hoping that people will live more under one roof, experimenting, using these homes that already exist, and that is way more affordable than co-housing or even renting a typical apartment in Seattle by yourself. So let me tell you how I came to favor cooperative living. In college, I lived in shared housing. It was informal, but I got a taste of how we could shape our own lifestyle. And for environmental and political reasons, I investigated intentional communities and found out they really existed all over in different types and sizes. And that led me to the Federation of Egalitarian Communities. I was very drawn to them because they're secular, non-hierarchical, and income sharing. And the oldest among them, anchoring the FEC, is Twin Oaks in Virginia. And after visiting several times, I went to live there. And that meant giving up a car and taking with me only what I could fit in one small bedroom. For the next several years, I basically shared a common purse with about 100 people and co-owned over 400 acres. Now, I hadn't gone looking for a rural commune in order to get back to the land. It was really the people that excited me and the systems. And it was fabulous. We grew organic food, ran community businesses. No one worked off the property. We all just earned labor credits and got the same allowance each month. And I just think that even though not most communities are income sharing, that's just a small percentage. I wanted to tell you about that and let you know that other intentional communities also do share a lot. Here are some reasons why. It's ecological. It's usually safer for the people and the buildings involved. It's healthy because close connections are really important. Studies tell us that loneliness is more dangerous to our health than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Fourth, it's economical. I've covered that, affordability. And 5, you get personal growth. You get to be experiencing a lot of new ideas and sometimes encounter differences, but you learn to work them out. So co-living can be hard work sometimes, but it feels good to me. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sid. Another round for Sid. Our next speaker tonight is Victor Ung, and he's going to talk to us about the struggle as an emotional man and an Asian American. Take it away, Victor.
All right, y'all. I am in a quarter-life crisis. Okay, that's out there. The thing is, it's interesting. I never expected myself to be on a public stage proclaiming that to freaking 1,000 people here. But the thing is, much of society expects us to be perfect, that there's one way, a one-road path to success. And we forget to explore anything outside of that. Coming from an Asian American background, you get that stereotypical sense of what the model minority is, right? And coming from a man's standpoint, we were expected to keep everything together with just our bare arms. And so that's me. I did all that. I went and got a stable tech job. I was able and grateful enough to be able to afford a townhouse and even the Tesla Model 3, which everyone should definitely get. And I'm super grateful for it and everything that has gotten me to this point. But what I left behind was so much of what really excited me, what really created joy, and what inspired my childlike sense of wonder. And so I did the crazy thing that everybody would suggest not to do, which is to quit my cushy tech job and to go drive for Lyft with a Tesla. And so I do a lot of fun things, and this has been so fun to get out of the typical, the idea of what success was. And because everybody asks me, it's like, do your parents know what you're doing? But the thing is, it's unfortunate that, I absorb so much of the culture and society that tells us instinctively any kind of discomfort or any kind of negative emotion you should push off, you should avoid, you should suppress, and that it's a bad thing. And unfortunately, that left me very stagnant in so many areas of my life. I was passed up for promotions in my career where I was not assertive enough to put myself out there, to challenge authority, to dive into conflict. And the suppression of these emotions also ruined so many of my relationships. I remember driving on the freeway one time with one of my ex-girlfriends, and she said something mildly irritating. And because I just didn't know how to handle my emotions, because I didn't know how to address them, I steered off the road when I was exiting and endangered both of us, something I'm not very proud of. And it wasn't until I saw a random YouTube video about emotional intelligence, and I figured that's exactly what it was I was missing. This skill to merge our head and our heart, being this logical left-brain person that wanted to rationalize everything. And so I did everything I could to put myself out there, both on and offline, and I got the support that I needed. And one of my favorite and most impactful moments is to join a men's group. And I think for a lot of us, even me included, was wondering, what the heck is this? Like going into someone's random house and sitting in a circle with a bunch of dudes talking about feelings. But it was so amazing to be able to experience that with other men. And I was inspired to start my own podcast, my own blog, and put myself out there, both on and offline. And I realized that I am not alone. That there are so many of us that put up walls around us based on other people's expectations, based on other people's ideas of what being human means and what success means. And I'm here to tell you that other people's version of success has nothing to do with yours. That you guys are taking up my time here. No, I'm kidding. I just want to say, throughout the rest of your talk, these talks and throughout your day, think about what set of emotions do you want more of in your life, rather than thinking about what you want to have or what you want to do. How do you want to feel? Who do you want to be? And if you can relate to my story and being this quarter-life crisis, you can start to see it as more of a quarter-life remodel. And that this is a time for you to redefine what it means for you to pursue your idea of success and for what it means to be human. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Victor. Let's hear it for Victor. It's a great job.
All right, our next speaker is Susan Ferguson, and she's going to talk to us about horny and hooved fur babies, why goats are the new dogs.
My dad grew up on a family farm in rural Missouri. And in the Great Depression, and I very often heard stories about his adventures in rural Missouri. And one of which was when he was 8 years old, he bought a goat for $5. And he proceeded to bring the goat home with the intention to teach it to pull a cart. Well, the thing proceeded to eat his mother's flowers and eat the laundry off the line and eat the vegetable garden. So his parents, of course, made him take it back. It turns out he had to pay the guy $6 to take the goat back. That forever formed my opinion about goats. So little did I know I was going to follow in his footsteps. About a year and a half ago, I ended up buying some property in Enumclaw, complete with 9 acres, a barn, a silo, traded in my suburban life for a life in the country. As I was taking this leap, my number one piece of advice was, Susan, you should get a goat. And I thought, what am I going to do with a goat? I know the stories. We all know the stories. They are the devil's mascot for a reason, right? So one day I was at Baxter Barn in Fall City buying some farm supplies, and there was this little goat there, and she came running up to me. She looked in my eyes, and I looked back at her. And next thing I know, I'm loading 2 pregnant Nigerian dwarf goats into the back of my friend's SUV. She's a really good friend, and she owed me a favor. So anyway, so I didn't know much about goats, so I consulted a very accessible and reasonable source of information, Facebook. I joined multiple goat groups, and I found out there is a whole world out there of pet goat ownership that nobody was ever aware of. Tens of thousands of people, in fact. In fact, goats are becoming more and more part of our popular culture. 50,000 people in the UK have urban pet goats. Yeah. What is the reason for this big surge in goat popularity? Well, first of all, goats are incredibly trainable. They can be trained to walk on a leash. They can be trained to come when called. They can be trained to go to the bathroom on command. They can be potty trained. Yes, that has led to an impressive number of people that have house goats, right? But the other big reason that goats have become so popular is because they are amazingly affectionate. They are social creatures. They are herd animals. That gives them a natural empathy where they can read your body language. And they know when you're sad, they know when you're happy. And that's why goat yoga has become a thing. So, be it, I'm seeing little Vinny there with his pajamas on, and you can get goat pajamas on Etsy for $15. Yeah, if your goat is stinky, you can just give him a bath like a dog. So it's pretty simple. But coming full circle, when we brought these little babies home, these 2 little goats, they ended up having 4 babies amongst them. Then we ended up with our rescue goat, Honey. And now, well, it's called goat math. We have 7 goats right now and expecting, I don't know how many more in July. So, but be it a goldfish, a dog, a cat, or a goat, make sure you do your due diligence. And if you're going to adopt an animal, make sure you're going to give it the happiest and healthiest home possible. But you should consider getting a goat, because they're pretty awesome. So you can check out our farm adventures at Bee and Thistle Farm on Instagram and Facebook, and thank you very much. Go get a goat.
Oh my God. Now I want a goat, along with everything else in my life. I want a goat. Like, who else wants a goat? Who wants a goat? Come on. I get a feeling next time we're here, there's going to be a lot of goats here with people, companion goats. All right. Our next speaker is Mercy Kariuki McGee, and she's going to talk to us about Shiro's Plate, Eating Fresh. Take it away, Mercy.
Hello, Seattle. My name is Mercy, as you heard, and I want to talk to you about eating fresh and mostly the African way. I am from Kenya, and no, I didn't just come today. I've been here for 22 years, and I have a grown family. But I am from the slopes of Mount Kenya, and you, Seattle, I know you drink coffee. 1,000 people here, each $1? Yes, I'm good. You pay me because I picked up that coffee. But my story comes here. In 2017, my family jumped into a restaurant. We were playing music, and all of a sudden, we were running a restaurant, 4,000 square footage. We had 1 month to scrub and scramble and register and open. We had a vision: bring good food to Olympia. We called it Ben Moore's. If you don't know Ben Moore's, this is where the Simpsons were created by Matt Groening. Same spot. So we were part of history, but we wanted to change the name to something that matches the food we wanted to offer. We called it Shiro. We had a very simple menu, African style, but we fused it with American food. I know you think I can't get African food here, but it's there. Our spices were all fused up in our cocktails. So, I'm not asking you to go dig out some roots, but I want to tell you about the African dishes and the African diet, which is the in thing today. The roots, the millet, the sorghum, everything that you want for your health comes from Africa, going back to the roots. We got everything. If you want the mung beans, we have that too. If you want the fruits, we have that too. And we eat all the fruits. We eat all the greens. We eat bean leaves, arrowroots, cassava, anything. We put it in our food. We don't throw away food in Africa. I see a lot of waste here. We don't waste anything. And fruits, every day. Every day. When I go without a fruit, I cry. Where's my fruit? We got the passion, the papaya, we call it pawpaw. Somebody said, you call it pawpaw? Yes, it's a pawpaw. But I came to America 22 years ago, and my husband was really kind to take me to a grocery store to show me. At 3 a.m., he took me, my first day here, to show me how it looks like. And since then, I've struggled with that, the dollar. But the African food is a good food. It's a good plate. It's good for your heart. It's good for your guts. It's good for women's health. It's good for men's health. It's good for everything. We got it all. But you have to make sense out about this food, especially in America, where mileage of food counts. You go to the grocery store and you're like, I'm not eating that. It's too expensive. $5 for an avocado? No way, tomorrow. But I got a plan. For my family, every day is green beans, greens, beans. Welcome to my dinner plate. I'm not be giving you some plantains every day, right? But for food, I call it a love affair. You hear people say, I love Italian. Oh, I love African dishes. But some food, you're like, oh, that's too funky. Oh, I don't like that. It smells. What is that smell you're cooking? Fall in love with your food. But we have to go back to the roots. We have to think of how to feed ourselves. I like to use this model of Grab, a nonprofit in Olympia that is working to help people get access to food. small scale, they build backyard farms, they contribute food to the community, they give to the bank. Join a CSA or something. Go do urban farming. Get access to good food, right? No more McDonald's. Eating fresh is not hard. It's easy. This is my backyard, small farm, but I eat in the summer like a bear. I tell my family, eat like a bear when it's available. Don't wait. But I also say that you need to feed the world like you feed your own family. Think about those who don't have. Imagine that, 2050, we have to feed more people. All in all, consume well, eat less, waste less. Let's save the world together. I'm from Shiro's Plate, and I'd love to hear your comments. Follow us on our social media. Let's have a discussion about eating fresh, the African style. Thank you.
Okay, that was amazing. That was amazing. You know, this is kind of unfair because now I'm hungry and I want a goat. I mean, not to eat. I don't want to eat the goat, but I'm hungry and I want a goat to love. It's complicated. I feel a lot of emotions. All right, I think we should just move on. Our next speaker tonight is Craig Plain. He's going to talk to us about how his life changed over the skies of South Korea.
In 1991, I was a captain serving in the United States Air Force. My official duty title was Air Weapons Controller, but I was more commonly called a scope dope. That's because I sat behind a radar scope and I told the good guys where the bad guys were. I did this with about 6 other scope dopes in the back of the E-3 AWACS radar plane based out of Kadena Air Base, Okinawa, Japan. October 3rd of that year, I was walking into a mission. I was greeted by a ranking officer who gave me a card. You see, we're subject to periodic evaluations to ensure that we meet standards, a check ride. Failing a check ride means, well, I could lose my job, or worse, have to attend remedial training. We hated that. So I remember thinking, okay, I'm good, I'm solid, I'm above average just like everybody else in the squadron. So we strapped in and started our flight up to South Korea where we were going to be supporting a large-scale exercise. I was going to be getting a lot of missions that day. The second mission I was actually looking forward to. It was a close control mission. That meant that me, as a weapons controller, got to tell the pilot everything. How fast to fly, how high to fly, when to turn, how much to turn. We didn't get a lot of chances to boss pilots around like this, so we kind of enjoyed it. Additionally, it was going to be a faker mission, which meant we were going to be partnering with the South Korean Air Force. I was going to be taking one of their older F-5s, sending it out over the water where it would become a fake North Korean invader. I would then scramble one of the newer F-16 Falcons to conduct an intercept, roll out behind, visually identify, and simulate shooting it down. It was like a live-action video game. These were a lot of fun. So the mission came up. I got my faker out over the Sea of Japan. I got him turned around. He is set. I should not have to do anything more. I scrambled my Falcon. After checking him in, I hear Hangul on the radio. Buddy sitting next to mine happened to speak Korean and says, "Hey, Gold Star just changed the heading of your faker." That's odd. So I radio a correction, and then I hear Hangul again, and now my Falcon is taking a different vector. This leads to a flurry of activity of me on the intercom with the mission crew commander asking her to get on the horn with Gold Star, the Korean control facility, and getting them to step down. In the meantime, I turn my attention back to the aircraft, where the situation is rapidly deteriorating. You see, 2 people talking on one frequency means we're jamming each other. Pilots aren't getting any calls. And when one of us do get through, we're giving conflicting commands. When Gold Star finally does shut up, I am faced with a scope dope nightmare. My birds are 10 miles apart, and they're pointed nose to nose. The technical term for this is FUBAR. You can Google that. So I've got 2 options. One, I can call knock it off, the sensible thing. Get home, everybody safely, stop the fight, probably fail my check ride. Or you know what, the Falcon's a pretty agile bird. I can kick him south, run him east parallel, come around hard, and complete the intercept. Never seen that done before. But hey, I'm above average, I can do this. So I make the call, Falcon 01, hard right, 180. And immediately I have regrets. We're down to 7 miles. Falcon 01, left 090. We're at 4 miles, 3 miles. At 2 miles, I begin losing resolution on my radar screen. The dots begin to touch. I have no spatial awareness. I'm not sure where they are in relation to one another, and this is no longer very much fun. I make a guess, I take a breath, I key the microphone. Falcon 01, left 270, final attack heading. The 2 dots join into a giant glowing furball on my screen. And as they do, as they become one, I hear an explosion of sound in my headset. Yelling, screaming, Hangul, English, broken English. I can't make out what's going on. It's a cacophony of Korean chaos. I look at my screen, and I swear the dots are not moving. And I realize 3 things. 1, I failed my check ride. 2, I probably crashed about $30 million worth of aircraft. 3, I probably just killed 2 pilots. I stare at my screen for what seems an eternity, but it was probably less than half a second when my buddy reaches over and slaps me on the shoulder and says, "Man, that was freaking awesome." Tom, what are you talking about? You rolled him out perfectly. He came out half mile behind. He was able to take him out with guns. They were arguing with Gold Star that they should do such a good job. Oh. It's good to breathe again. I'm happy to announce that I passed my check ride with above average marks. But more importantly, I gained a new perspective on life that day. You know, when things are going bad, when things are a little rough, I sit back, I take a deep breath, and I ask myself, am I going to remedial training? Did I destroy millions of dollars of equipment? Did I kill anybody? If I can answer no to those, I know everything is going to be just fine. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share my story with you, and thank for the Ignite staff for all the work they do here. Thank you.
Let's give it up for Craig Plain. You know, the first time we all heard that talk, he didn't tell us that everyone was going to turn out okay, and we were like, why is he making jokes? That was amazing. Okay. All right, we just got through 6 amazing talks. That was the first half. Let's give it up to the speakers in the first half. All right, so before I let you all go to intermission for your much needed alcohol, there is one thing I want to talk to you about. Okay, so I took Haley's talk to heart here. We've got a little voting bicycle up there. So I want you to vote, and I want you to vote a lot. What are we voting for tonight? Brackets. Someone downstairs, we're voting for brackets. We're voting for your favorite thing. Okay, what are we voting for March 10th? I think some people jumped the gun a bit. Okay, yes, voting in the primary. All right, very good. And I hope you know what you're voting for on November 3rd, because if you don't, I don't know what's going on. But vote, vote, vote. So go vote tonight, go get some wine, go get some refreshments, and we will see you back in about 20 to 25 minutes. Thank you.
Community storytelling, where 12 speakers give 5-minute talks. We just heard from 6 of our speakers for the night, and we'll be hearing from 6 more after the intermission. In the meantime, I'll be sharing with you some behind-the-scenes info on what it takes to play in Ignite Seattle. I'll be interviewing 2 of the speakers that we just heard from. I'll be challenging a couple audience members to a Jeopardy game. And it's an honor to be here representing Real Girls. We empower women and non-binary filmmakers to take their first steps into professional filmmaking. We'd love it if you could connect with us on our website, if you could check out our social media and share with us some of your Ignite speech ideas. You can share those ideas with us using the hashtag RealGirlsLive. That's RealGrrlsLive. So the speakers tonight have been really supported by Ignite Seattle. They have attended 2 workshops where they got to meet each other and also get some coaching from a professional speaking coach. Scott Birkin is the Ignite Seattle coach. He's a professional speaker and he's an author. And it's an honor to have him here tonight to discuss a little bit more about the Ignite process. Come on over. Hi, Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. How are you tonight?
I'm good. Have you seen this talk so far?
I have. They've been going so well.
If they do a good job, I'm happy. So I'm happy. They're doing great.
So I know you've been with Ignite for a while. Can you share with us your history with Ignite?
I spoke at the first Ignite, which was a very small event. It was not like this. It was maybe 250 people. And no one knew what to do with this automated slide thing, but I was one of the speakers at the first Ignite. And I'm mostly an author. I write books, but to write books, you have to get attention for them. You speak. So I've spoken at 6 Ignites, and then I realized I really liked the whole event, and I wanted to help other speakers learn how to do it well. And so in 2010, I suggested that they start coaching speakers, and I volunteered to be the first speaker coach. And that's what I do now. So I'm the speaker coach. Yeah.
What is your favorite Ignite memory from all the years?
Well, okay. So the politically correct answer is my favorite memory is every time I see a speaker, they submit their talks and they don't know what to expect. They don't expect to get in. They get in and they meet us and they feel overwhelmed. I can't do this. I'm not a professional speaker. And then little by little they realize that we're here to support them and that they're not alone. We know how to do this. We'll show them the ropes. And then they show up and do a great job. That's by far my best memory, and that's why I continue to volunteer, to help people who have great stories, but they don't have the craft of storytelling yet, but they have great life stories. That's the whole mission for Ignite. So anytime that happens, which happened 6 times tonight, that's my best thrill, for sure. Yeah.
So the Ignite format is pretty unique, the 5-minute time limit and the automatically advancing slides. What are some of the challenges that come with the format, and then what are some of the advantages?
That's a fantastic question. Very good. So the downside is that when you talk to your friends over dinner at a bar, there's not a clock every 10 seconds giving you a rhythm. It's very artificial. So it feels unnatural at first, but creativity depends on constraints. People who want to make books or movies or write poetry, they're, I want to be free. Having a constraint sets you up. There's some resistance to work with. So once people realize that constraint now forces you to be concise and to pay attention to time, it actually helps you because you're thinking, how do I use this 15 seconds? How do I use 30 seconds? And the slides don't have to all change all the time. That's a bunch of props. But think about time. All good storytelling is precipitated on how you use time. So it forces you to think about that.
Well, thank you so much. It was really interesting to hear from you, and I really enjoyed watching you coach the speakers in the workshops.
I love what you're doing. Thanks for interviewing me. Thanks for helping us with intermission.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, now that we've heard a little bit about what goes into the process of planning for Ignite, we'd also like to show you that process. So we've made a behind-the-scenes video to play for you. We'll show you that now, and I'll be right back afterwards.
Welcome back to Ignite Seattle. I hope you enjoyed that behind the scenes video. Now I have the pleasure of speaking with Victor Ung. He just spoke in the first half of the evening. His talk was called The Struggle as an Emotional Man and an Asian American. Hi Victor, how are you doing?
Good to meet you, yeah.
How are you feeling after such an exciting speech? You got a lot of laughs. What was it like being on stage up there?
It was a different experience, for sure. Honestly, pretty relieved, but I had a lot of fun. I just had, yeah, it was great being up there and connecting with people, so.
Well, you did an excellent job. You should be very proud. What originally inspired you to get involved with Ignite?
I feel like I've always been wanting to find avenues to like open up the conversation, and I think this was a really good platform to do so. I also wanted to try to, build up my own emotional capacity and be on stage and do the scary things. So.
Well, speaking of scary things, you made some pretty big and scary decisions recently, like quitting your job. How did you get the courage to make such big changes in your life?
I honestly realized, we do have a long time, but we also don't. And so, how much are you going to let other people tell you what is right or what is wrong or what feels good for you and whatnot? And what I wanted to do was something other than where I was at, and I just had to pull the trigger.
So you mentioned a little bit about the men's group that you're part of, and I'm curious to hear a little more, like, how did you find a men's group? And maybe for some of our listeners, if they want to join a men's group, how would they go about finding one?
Yeah, there's quite a few out there. I actually listened to Joe Rogan podcast, and there was a guy named Dan Doty who was on his show, and he's been doing a lot of men's work and taking men out and his kids out to like wilderness retreats and whatnot, and being able to connect back to themselves. And so he offers a lot of free men's groups around the country. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of kinds. That one was called Everyman, but there's a lot of kinds like called Mankind Project, and just Google it, really.
Okay, Google it. The answer for everything. All right, well, is there anything else you want to share with our viewers at home?
Live your life. Do you. That's where I'm at.
Well, thank you so much. I really loved listening to your talk, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the night. Thank you. Next, I will get to interview Mercy Karyuki McGee. Her talk was called Shiro's Plate, Eating Fresh, and she shared some strategies for incorporating the African diet into your everyday meals. Come on over. Come on over. Hi, Mercy. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I loved hearing your talk. How are you feeling now that you've got it over with?
It feels good. It feels good to be done. The preparation that we had to put into it, and driving all the way up from Olympia to be here tonight with the traffic, and seeing the cloud, and it's just so much energy going on right now. So it feels good to be done, but I'm excited to hear about the rest of the talks because I haven't had them yet. Yeah.
What originally inspired you to apply for an Ignite talk?
I saw another lady who had applied for it from Olympia, and I'm like, oh, there's something called Ignite Seattle. I'm like, I'll try it out. I have something I can tell people about my food and what I do and my passion. So I just out of the blues, one day I'm sitting on the couch doing stuff, and I applied. And then I packed it away, and then they messaged me in February. I'm like, oh, I completely even forgot I did that. I didn't think you guys were going to respond to me. So it was really exciting. I was just really wanted to come out and eat African food is the beginning of eating healthy, because we are starting to go back to the basics of eating well, right? So I think African food is the basics should start, and it's a good start.
What would you recommend? Like, what dish should someone start with if they're trying to incorporate the African diet into their lifestyle? Like, what's the first thing they should try?
The first thing they should try, obviously, is the chai, but greens, the kale. You know, people eat kale here, and they love it, and it's really trending right now. Everybody, if you go to the store, kale is almost not there. So I recommend trying the kale and cooking it the African way. And I have a talk about it on my podcast. So if people want to learn how to do that, I have a podcast coming on how to do that. And I also recommend people to eat plantain because it's so huge in Africa. We eat plantain all the time. And there are so many ways to eat plantains. And on my podcast, I demonstrate how to cook plantains in 2 different ways. And it's all healthy for you.
How can we find your podcast if we want to listen to it?
I'm on, it's Shiro's Plate at podcast.com. And I'm also on Instagram at Shiro's Plate. I'm also on Facebook. And people can follow me personally as well. I like friends. So, yeah, and we just started going. So we have a lot more to put in on there for people to enjoy.
Okay, I have one last question for you. So you talk a little bit about kind of deciding between the healthy, organic, more expensive food and the affordable option. What are your go-to foods that you always splurge on the organic option?
I have to say I'll give up anything to have an avocado, and I'll give up anything to have greens, and I'll give up anything to have a good plantain and a banana. And I definitely would go, my little view to go food organically is the beans and the greens, because I can take the greens and the beans and mix them all together and form a dish. And I can also add the plantains into it and form a healthy dish at any single time, breakfast, dinner, snack.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, and also thank you for driving here all the way from Olympia. That's so nice of you.
I love Seattle. This is where I came first when I came to America, so I love coming back to Seattle. And this definitely was a good opportunity for me to return.
Well, congratulations on a wonderful speech, and have a great rest of your night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, it was great to hear from the speakers. I loved hearing their stories. Now I'm going to invite a couple audience members to play a game of Jeopardy with me and see how well they paid attention to the speeches that we just heard. I'm ready for the audience owners. Come on over. I'll have you guys stand over on that side, over on the... You can stand over on that. All right, so first off, I'd love to hear your names and where you're from. Welcome. Did you drive here tonight from Olympia? No. Oh. Okay, great. So I'm sure you've heard of Jeopardy before, but just as a refresher, we will give you the answers, and then you will tell us the question that would go with it. So, for example, if one of the prompts is an evening of community storytelling, you would say, what is Ignite Seattle? But if you forget to say the question and the answer, I'll still give you points, don't worry. I'll have you start. You can pick from dates, names, numbers, and terms, and we have 100 to 400 for the point values. Yeah, what would you like to pick? Okay, a type of animal, like goats, that lives in a social group with other animals of the same species. And I'll give you a hint, this is just like a broad type of animal, not a specific animal, like a category of animals.
What is co-social?
Say that again.
Cohabitating?
Cohabitating?
Yeah.
All right, I think you'll get that. It was herd animal, cohabitating, same thing. Okay. So 100 points for you. Thank you so much.
Sounds
all right.
Good.
What would you like?
Can I have the names for 100, please?
Names for 100. Thank you. Okay. The model and type of car that Victor drives.
What is Tesla Model 3?
Bingo. All right, neck and neck.
All right, I'll take
Numbers for 400.
Ooh, okay, getting risky. Okay, the size of the restaurant that Mercy bought in 2017.
What is 1,000 square feet?
It's 4,000 square feet. I'd say give him half points for that one. Good job, good guess. Okay, go ahead.
Can I have the numbers for 200, please?
Numbers for 200. All right, the total amount of money Susan's dad spent on the goat he tried to bring home. Now, think about this. It's a little bit of a trick question.
What is $11?
Bingo, perfect. Good job.
All right, I'll take dates for 300.
Dates for 300. Mercy's birthday and the day she opened her restaurant in Olympia. You could guess. I'll give it to you if you guess the month.
The month? All right. Wow, 1 in 12. What is May?
The answer's July. I'm sorry.
Can I have names for 300, please?
Names for 300. The name of one of the more dangerous styles of bicycles popular before the safety bicycle.
What is penny farthing?
Penny farthing?
Yeah.
Correct. It is a penny farthing. You could also have said the bone shaker. Both are correct.
All right, I'll take names for 400.
Okay. The name of tonight's MC.
What
It was
is Sumish?
Sumit Basu. So I think that was close enough. I'll give that to you too. Excellent job.
Can I have terms for 400?
Terms for 400? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Housing and Lifestyle Organization that FEC stands for. I'll give it to you if you get one of the words right. Just guess one of them.
What FEC stand for? Co-housing? Co-housing?
All right, not quite. So it stands for the Federation of Egalitarian Communities.
Communities, okay, cool. All right, I'll take dates for 100.
Dates for 100.
Yeah.
Okay. During this year, over 2 million bikes were sold in the United States.
What is 1918?
It was 1897.
Close, very close.
Some of the right numbers in there.
Can I have numbers for 300, please?
Okay, the cost of the equipment Craig almost destroyed on his check ride.
What is $30 million?
That is correct, $30 million.
Oh, man. All
I
right.
almost tricked you there.
That was pretty good. All right, I'll take dates for 400.
Okay, the fateful day Craig was assigned a check ride.
Like weekday or the full date?
So we have the date,
Okay. I
but
got it.
if you want, you could. I'll still give it to you if you guess the month.
I'll guess all of it right. What is May 20th, 1968?
It was October 3rd, 1991.
Can I have names for 200, please?
Okay. The production company that is hosting Jeopardy. So that is me, what I'm doing.
Who is Real Girls?
Great
Real
job,
girl,
great
real
job,
girls.
Real girl.
Yeah.
Good job.
I'll take terms for 300.
Terms for 300. Okay. The merging of the head and the heart as defined by Victor.
What is emotional intelligence?
Bingo. Great job.
Can I have terms for 200, please?
Terms for 200?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the supposed dangers of bike riding, resulting in permanently bulging eyes and a clenched jaw.
What is a header?
Say that
A
again.
header?
It is what is bicycle face?
Oh.
Bicycle face.
All right, I'll take numbers for 100.
The number of years ago that women could not vote in the U.S.
What is 90?
I'll give it to you close. It's 100 years.
It was 100. Okay.
100 years. Okay, last one.
Yeah, date's 200.
The year in which Ignite Seattle was first held.
41 years ago, so...
Did you say 41?
41 years ago.
If you flip those numbers.
14 years ago.
14 years ago, in
Yeah.
2006.
2006.
Great job.
Okay.
All right, so while we're calculating the results, I'm going to read some of the speech ideas that we got. Oh, it was a tie. All right. So great job. You guys both proved that you paid very good attention to the speeches. Thank you so much for playing. I hope you enjoyed the show. And what was your favorite Ignite talk so far? I'd love to hear from you.
I would say here Ethan, the talk about you want to do something outside the traditional path of success.
Great. What about you?
I think Victor's and the first talk were really good for just different reasons. So
Great.
very good, engaging speakers. Everyone here was really engaging. So
Well, thank you so much for playing.
Yeah, thank you.
Give me a high five.
yeah, thanks.
Have a good night. Enjoy
Thank
the
you.
rest of the talks. Bye. All right. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much for listening. I'm going to share some of the tweets that we got for the speech ideas. So we have from Cindy, how geographic ton ruins a great cup of coffee. And we also have from James. James would like to hear how to find a cannabis-friendly bank. That is quite an issue. From Big Meg on Twitter, we'd like to know how to calculate the perfect ocean current. We also have Americans should be celebrating Bun Day, but first we need cardamom extract. I'm not sure what that means, but thank you for sharing. And we have Sammy wants to know what my favorite song is. I like Little Dragon. That's my favorite band. Thank you for asking. Thank you so much for listening in tonight. That's all we have for the evening. We have 6 more speakers to go, and they have some really great talks to share. I'd also like to give a big thank you to Punch Drunk Productions for sharing with us. Again, we are Real Girls Productions. Please check in with us. Check out our website, our social media, and we'll see you again later. Good night.
All right, welcome back. Are you properly hydrated or inebriated at this point? Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. Okay, now, before we get started with the second half, I have 3 questions for you. First question, did you vote? Okay, that's good, that's good. Number 2, have you had a banana today? Oh, look at this crowd. Wow. And aren't these guys, you know, are they just adorable? Thank you, I feel validated now. Okay, this might not make a lot of sense, but it's gonna make sense to you by the end of the second half. So with that, let's get this show back on the road. All right. Our first speaker for the second half is Willie Weir with Lessons from a Billboard.
Thank you. In 1969, NASA put a man on the moon. In 1987, Millstone Coffee put a man on a billboard. Yep, the location was 45th and Roosevelt, the second busiest intersection in Seattle at the time. It was 32 coffees in 32 days because I was drinking a different blend of Millstone coffee every day. And this was not a 9-to-5 job. I actually had to live up there the entire time. And in fact, my contract said if I came down before 32 days, I didn't get paid. My living area was 178 square feet of no running water. There was a portage-on. on the adjacent roof, and there was this little tiny cubbyhole where I slept at night. But you know what? I was a semi-employed actor, and this place was a lot better than my apartment. So, and this job, talk about a piece of cake. I mean, wave at people, drink free coffee, read the newspaper. Whoa, was I wrong. This thing went viral in sort of an 80s kind of way, where newspaper articles were written all over the country. Now, in the little town of Elmira, New York, my grandmother picked up her local newspaper and read about the billboard. Instantly, my days were filled with radio interviews and newspaper interviews and all sorts of interviews. And I had to be up there and I'm like, well, every day kind of started the same way. I woke up, I put on my robe, I waved to commuter traffic, then I put my water through my coffee maker and I set that aside because I used that for a sponge bath later. Then I made my coffee. I found out that 5 cups of coffee a day, really good, great for creativity. 10 plus cups of coffee a day destroys you. The other thing I discovered was that hide-a-keys, they're a really good idea. See, I managed to actually lock myself out of my billboard one night on a Porta-John run at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm standing there shivering and thinking, oh my God, I'm waiting for 2 hours for Mike. Mike is the guy who shows up with his big truck and he changes the coffee of the day sign on my billboard. And he helped me break into my apartment. So, I am a week into this gig and I am in trouble because I am sleeping less than 4 hours a night. I can't get to bed before 2 a.m. because I live right next to the university district and drunk college students need to meet the guy on the billboard. And so, I am exhausted, I am over-caffeinated, and I'm lonely, surrounded by thousands of people. And I think for the first time, I don't think I'm gonna make it through. And I look down the next morning and this car pulls up, a mom and 2 kids. I want nothing to do with them, I'm hiding. And I hear them, oh mom, the billboard guy isn't here, oh no. And the mom says, that's okay, honey, I think he's in the back right now. And I thought, I've heard this conversation before. I was at the zoo with my mom. I'm a bear at the zoo. So I get up and I walk out and I walk outside my box and I get outside on my little balcony and I wave to the kids and they go crazy. They jump up and down, big smiles, and that's when it dawned on me. We all need community no matter where we live. And so I started spending more and more time out on my balcony. And I met my neighbors, the guy who owned the donut shop, and the people who owned the Subway sandwich shop, and the people that walk from the bus stop into the university district every day. And it was Halloween, and so I asked my community to come trick-or-treat at my house. And over 100 people showed up. One day, a guy shows up with 2 baseball mitts and a ball. He throws up a mitt, and we play catch for 2 hours. So I'm thinking, oh, this is amazing. And you know what? There were times I had to scream into my pillow, but overall, I really learned to love my neighbors and my neighborhood. But there was something else that was happening. This thing was changing my brain because I was looking down at the world at this extreme angle for 32 days, right? And my brain was compensating. So when I finally came down from the billboard, my brain kept compensating. So I was excited and freaked out because it was as if I was living in a baseball dugout 3 feet below the ground. This lasted 6 hours beyond the time I came down from the billboard. And this whole thing reminded me of when I use my phone too much. I mean, it's exciting, it's exhausting, and it warps my view of the world a little bit that kind of freaks me out. You know, it has been over 32 years since I lived 32 days on a billboard. And there's a couple of things that hold true. And that is, life is always better when I live outside the box and beyond my phone. Thank you very much.
That's Willie Weir, everyone. Give it up. Now, I don't know how many people have lived in a billboard, but I am pretty certain Willie is the most awesome person who's ever lived in a billboard. Give it up for Willie. That was amazing. All right, our next speaker tonight is Nicole Denamer with Nobody Cares About Drowning Polar Bears.
You don't care about drowning polar bears. You really don't. Oh, I know, but you really don't. I don't care about drowning polar bears. I want to, but I know that I don't. This polar bear is reaching for that last iceberg. It's not there, and it's my fault, right? That's the messaging we've been given. It's sad. Polar bears have become this kind of sad mascot for climate change, and that's super problematic because we're so disconnected from their experience. I've only ever seen a polar bear in a zoo. That's problematic in and of itself. Yet we're being asked to associate them with climate change, which carbon is super difficult to visualize. I can't connect my own individual behavior with a degree, 2 degree, or a degree and a half change in overall climate. And all of the science and all the data is telling us we're not doing nearly enough, right? So what do we do? What can we actually do? We can use tools to rebrand this conversation in a way that really fosters engagement and inspires individual action. We can move away from these disconnected polar bears and towards things that actually work. So there's one tool that I'll share with you. It's called the shampoo bottle effect. That's a little silly. Even sillier is that I also call it the neurological kick in the pants. Yep, this is the brain phenomenon where when you have more, you will use more, but when you have less, you'll use less, and here's the thing, without even thinking about it. Your brain will conserve when it feels the impacts, when it feels that you're running out. So when you're at that top arrow, your brain will, you'll pay attention now, you'll use all the shampoo, and when you start to run low, you'll actually put less in your hand, and you won't even have to think about it. Your brain feels that you're running low, and it tells you to conserve. So how do we relate this to climate change? How do we feel the impacts of climate change that we're disconnected from? It's hard to visualize. I can't quite put my brain around it. We use stories. Stories are the tools to how we really connect with this concept. And your stories matter. You might not think that you have any, but you do. So I'll share 3 of mine. In 2018, I was on a road trip across Montana, Idaho, and the North Cascades, and I ran into the Twisp wildfires. This is a picture of the sun setting on those particulate matter in the sky. I can tell you what the smoke smelled like. I had to turn onto this road where it was, scary. Nobody could tell me if it was safe. They were using words like contained that I didn't understand, and I was really privileged that I could leave that circumstance, but it was still really scary. And I can feel what that felt like. This was a one-way in road, one-way out road kind of decision. And I can feel that fear, and you can feel that fear because I've shared that story with you, right? And so these stories are really what matters. And so we can also use stories to connect with place, right? So I grew up in a very rural area of Wisconsin. It's a beautiful place. I spent a lot of time running, hiking, and swimming there. It's a place that is really a part of my identity. And I feel very connected to that place. It's also probably why I'm so compelled to work in sustainability. This is a beach on the shores of Lake Michigan near my parents' house. I can tell you what the wind sounds like when it blows through those trees. I can tell you what that water smells like, because fresh water does smell. Right? This is a beautiful photo, but to me it's a really sad photo because I know that when I was a kid, that beach went out 10, 20 feet further than it does now. Right? The water levels in the Great Lakes have changed significantly. Erosion has taken place, and this place that's a part of my identity has changed. And I can feel that, now you can feel that because I've told you that story. So if we extend this conversation to a broader conversation about sustainability, I also teach a class on sustainable development at the University of Washington. And one day I was teaching, and I was holding a single-use plastic water bottle in my hand, right? And one of my students called me out. They were like, class on sustainability, what's happening here? And that student was exactly right. And you know what? I'd never thought about it. I'd honestly never thought about it. And once I thought about it, I realized I'd used 4 or 5 of those bottles that day because fizzy water is delicious, because I never thought about it, because it was free at my work. I didn't internalize the externality. And you can bet that I felt like a hypocrite and a really poor educator and a bad teacher. You can also bet that I changed my behavior. I am by no means perfect, but I changed my behavior. And if we don't, what we're doing is we're refilling that bottle. You've all done this. You've put water in it when it starts to get low, right? So you don't feel like you're running out. That's complacency, and that's disconnected imagery. And so, these big, bold moments of climate change are important, but it's also these ordinary, everyday, imperfect, single-use plastic water bottle moments that are super important, and we need to keep telling those stories. We need to leverage tools like the shampoo bottle effect or whatever works, to change the design strategy. Tell stories that are meaningful to you and your community in whatever media resonates, because we are not doing nearly enough. So my story at Ignite is all about the power and importance of telling your stories. Tell stories that matter. Force our brains to really feel and connect with climate change and move away from these disconnected images so that we can actually do something.
Let's give Nicole a hand. That was amazing. Thank you, Nicole. I told you those polar bears were going to come back to haunt you. See? All right. Our next speaker tonight is Alex Alvear. He's going to talk about world schooling, bringing it home.
When people ask me where my accent is from, I usually tell them my mother is from Spain, my father is from Colombia. I was born in New York, I grew up in Texas, I lived most of my life in California, and I had spent about 30 countries I've been to for my career. The world feels like my home. We live in Seattle now, and Seattle, like a lot of places, is a bubble. What isn't? And so we decided to take our kids world schooling. World schooling is immersive homeschooling while traveling. And so in our case, what that meant is that we went to 21 countries in the course of 1 year. Some for as little as 3 days, others like Tanzania for about 2 months. We called it Tesseract because it added a fourth dimension to our learning. Now, how did we do this? Well, to begin with, we packed really light, just one backpack each for the entire year. Luxury items included things like touchpads, packed full of homeschooling materials, and also a Roku so we could keep up with the good place. We lived a lot like a local, as much as we could, sometimes staying all 5 of us together in one room. We shopped at local markets, ate local foods, and this really gave us a chance to experience not only the place, but ourselves much more richly. Along the way, we did see friends, and that really brought home something important, which is home really is where the heart is. But there were long stretches of time, months at a time even, when we were strangers in a strange land and completely disconnected from community. And that's when the real magic happens, when you get to discovery. We found that people treated us differently throughout the world, which is cultural awareness 101. But when you're the same person traveling through 21 countries back to back, that lesson really hits home. And you discover that so much of what other people do is not about you. Taking kids, these Germans who had a very different understanding of us and us with them until we actually talked to each other 3 days into spending time together. But there were more nuanced stories. Like this is our friend Yaya. He has a college degree, but he can't get a job because the government discriminates against people from Pemba. Now, before him, a generation before, the British were the oppressors, the colonizers, and before him, the Omanis, who ran a brutal slave trade in that area for centuries, and before that, rival ethnic groups. But to really appreciate Yaya's story, you have to step outside of your own bubble and get comfortable with layered and old stories and with ambiguity. In Varanasi, we saw cows eating trash. We saw a cremation fire burning 24/7. We saw a body being dumped into the river. We learned to get comfortable being uncomfortable. This year in a train station in Delhi, we were delayed for about 6 hours. And at that point, an announcement came over the intercom. Inconvenience caused is to be expected. To be expected? Well, yeah. At different points in our trip, my cochlear implant broke, and I couldn't hear periods at a time. I had a 2-inch gash on my foot in the Amazon that left me adrift for sepsis. An old friend completely vaporized while we were thousands of miles away. So life is hard, but world schooling also taught us that it can be incredible. The human spirit is incredibly resilient. We saw people with far less kind of band together and doing incredibly entrepreneurial things with very, very little against incredible odds. But it isn't always easy. In China, I couldn't find a plunger when I plugged the toilet, so I tried a toilet brush and it broke the head off at the end of it. The plumber didn't speak any English, but gave us incredulous looks and turned the bathroom upside down. We had to innovate. We had to ask for help when we needed it. But in the end, wolf schooling has a way of kind of forcing lessons upon you didn't think you needed or you didn't know that you could. The last leg of our trip was back here in the United States in Washington, D.C. for July 4th. Now, this is a bubble that I do not agree with. But there was something else going on within me that wasn't quite there fully before, which was a lot more compassion and curiosity. Because I define a bubble, any bubble, as a space where your judgment exceeds your compassion, where your self-righteousness exceeds your curiosity. And for my work, the most important thing the wolf schooling taught us was really kind of how to step outside of our bubble. And it made my children more engaging human beings, and it made me a better parent and a better professional. So I implore you to get out of your bubble. You don't have to travel the world to do this. Talk to people whose ideas you disagree with. Step outside of your comfort zone. Be mindful about what you surround yourself with. Feel free to email me or visit my website for a lot more, including how we handled carbon offset, for writing that my children did, and for the cutest Irish dancing that they did across 5 continents. Thank you.
All right, so just to get this straight, Alex and his family made it for a year with only a single backpack each. I can't make it through a day with a single backpack, so I don't even know it's possible. It's amazing. All right, our next speaker tonight is Ramon Arjona. He's going to talk about 22q11 deletion syndrome, the most common birth defect you've never heard of.
So our daughter was born 16 years and 9 months ago. And 8 hours after she was born, she was taken from our hospital room to the neonatal intensive care unit. A nurse had heard a murmur in her heart. We met a very kind pediatric cardiologist who explained to us that our daughter had something called tetralogy of Fallot, which is a heart defect that would require open heart surgery to repair, probably before she was 1 year old. He also explained to us that she might have something called a TET spell, which means that her oxygen has suddenly dropped dangerously low and she's turned very, very blue, and we have to get her knees up to her chest and call 911 and hope that the ambulance gets there in time. So tetralogy is just a fancy word for 4 things. And the 4 things that are wrong with my daughter's heart are a ventricular septal defect, a ventricular hypotrophy, and a couple of other things that I can't remember because this is actually a lot to try to keep in your brain as a parent. And as my daughter was getting ready for her surgery, they did a scan of her heart and her lungs, and they found that she had something called thymic aplasia. Thymic aplasia is a fancy word for not having a thymus gland. Thymus gland is a thing that sort of sits above your heart, does some stuff with your immune system. And the fact that she didn't have a thymus gland meant that she had something called DeGeorge syndrome. And at this point, this is a lot to keep in your head, so we just focused on helping our daughter recover when she had her surgery at 4 months old. The doctors took a piece of bovine pericardium, which is a fancy word for duct tape, and used it to seal the hole in our daughter's heart. We slept in shifts at a hotel near the hospital to make sure that there was always somebody next to our daughter's bedside. And then we turned our attention to trying to understand what is this thing called DeGeorge syndrome. Well, it has a laundry list of symptoms. There are just too many to list out or even to really hold in your brain, but there are 5 salient ones that we focused on. And those are cardiac abnormality, abnormal facial features, thymic aplasia, cleft palate, and hypocalcemia, which is the fancy word for not having enough calcium in your blood, and it has the handy mnemonic catch-22. 22 is for the 22nd chromosome, where my daughter is missing about 30 to 50 genes off of the Q arm. And we learned that there are lots of different syndromes that share this same chromosomal deletion off of this same part of the 22nd chromosome. And we learned that all of these syndromes have a laundry list of potential symptoms, all of which are scary and most of which are very hard to pronounce. And we were fortunate because we were able to connect with the good people of the Seattle Children's Craniofacial Clinic because we had an early diagnosis of 22q. And the people of Seattle Children's Craniofacial Clinic were able to connect us with the 22q Family Foundation, who host a yearly meetup at the Woodland Park Zoo, where my daughter, for the first time, was able to meet other children who have a similar challenge to her and establish a sense of community and belonging with them. Now, the 22q Family Foundation runs something called the Same Name Campaign, which is an effort to get doctors and caregivers to stop using all of that laundry list of names for syndromes and start using the genetic name that is 22q11 deletion syndrome, which relates to the place where the DNA is missing that caused all of these different things. Now, our daughter is doing fantastic. She is planning to travel internationally this summer. She is planning to go to college, and we are very grateful for the doctors and the nurses and everyone who has helped her get to this place and to this very positive outcome. And if you are a doctor or a caregiver, I encourage you to support the Same Name campaign to help people connect to community and to care and to know what they should Google and to think 22q. Thank you.
Let's give it up for Ramon. What an amazing journey. I'm so glad to hear that his daughter is alive and well. So, you think you're done learning about the heart? You're not done learning about the heart. Our next speaker tonight is Jana Morelli, and she's going to talk about the day her heart stopped 14 times. Take it away.
Thank you. In 2009, I got the flu. Just the regular old flu, not the cool swine flu or the bird flu, none of those good flus. I got the regular flu, and within 3 weeks, it had killed 70% of my heart muscle. So when you have a mostly dead, but not all the way dead heart, you become the proud owner of a defibrillator. This is a device that's implanted in your chest, meant to shock your heart back if it has a bad rhythm or if it stops. So I learned how to live life with a bad heart. Sometimes I'd be so tired I couldn't brush my teeth without taking a break. But I also learned to have a great life traveling and enjoying life with my husband. But 6 years later, I was at work. I was feeling awful. I was clammy and cold and felt terrible, and then all of a sudden I felt the rev, like a motorcycle. When a defibrillator has to deliver a shock, it charges its engine. Bam! It was like a kick to the chest by a horse. My nerve endings caught on fire. My mouth tasted like it was full of metal. It was excruciating. Then, bam! I was shocked again and again. I was shocked 14 times. Next thing I know, I wake up in the hospital. My husband, Nick, is standing there. He's holding my hand, and I am crying. Nick, I cannot take any more. I can't take one more shock. I will die. And Nick said, you are going to get another shock, but you are not going to die. In that moment, I believed him. I couldn't believe myself, but I could believe him. The doctors came in and said that I was low on potassium. I needed like 10,000 bananas and I was gonna be fine. What? How is that even a thing? Well, it turns out I was not fine. Those shocks had wrecked my heart. And so the doctor said that I needed a heart transplant. I was in for the race of my life. So we start work. I got a open heart surgery to put a pump in the bottom of my heart that would take the weight, take the work and the workload off of my heart so that I could live until I got a transplant. I exercised, walking a few steps and then a block and then a mile. I ate every vegetable you've ever heard of. I took my medicine, I went to the doctor, I went to therapy. And then I was listed for heart transplant. It was a good day. And then, 11 months and 2 weeks after that shocking day, I received the gift of a new heart. Yeah, really good, really good. Y'all, I have to tell you, this heart is amazing. I can brush my teeth anytime I want, all the way through. I get to travel. I got to swim in the Caribbean Sea. I get to live a life with my husband, Nick. We travel. I work. I've gotten to see new nieces and nephews be born. This life is amazing, and it is all because of a donor, a hero that I will never know. This hero saved my life, and not only can I live a life without fear of being shocked or my heart stopping, but I get to live a life that has a future. And that is incredible. Thank you. So I want to encourage everyone here, if you're not an organ donor, consider signing up today. Consider signing up to be an organ donor. Tell your family you can save someone's life, and you can save the life of a family who doesn't have to worry if I'm going to make it another day. Thank you.
Wow, one more time for Jana Morelli. Now I can bet all of you are gonna eat 10 bananas tomorrow. Okay, our last speaker of the night is Gavin Verhey with The Most Glad You'll Be All March. Take it away, Gavin.
Hello, Seattle, and are you well ready for the most glad you'll be all March? All right, before we get started, I need you to vote on a couple things. I'm going to show you two things, and I'm going to do it by applause, which you like more. So tell me which it is. Do you like, on the left-hand corner, Toy Story, or in the right-hand corner, Sloths? Who wants Toy Story? Who wants Sloths? Looks like Sloths takes it down. All right, let's try that one more time. In the left-hand corner, macaroni and cheese. In the right-hand corner, flowers. Looks like a big winner for flowers. So what is going on here? You've been voting all night. This is something I like to call March Gladness. It's a bracket I run every year on Facebook where I pit two things that people like against each other in a race to find out what will be the champion for that year. How did this come about? What's the story here, and how can you participate? Follow along. So I started playing a card game called Magic the Gathering when I was a little kid. I grew up to play it professionally. I used that to pay for college, and now I actually design the game, and I've been doing it for about 8 years. I love games. Games are a big deal to me, and I'm very passionate about game design. And to me, brackets are one of the most pure forms of game design. It's simple. You just pick one of two things that you like until eventually you have a champion. People do it with sports all the time, but I thought, what if we did it for something else? So I posted on Facebook something really innocuous. I asked people to say, hey, what's something that you like? I got about 141 replies, pretty good, I would say. back in 2015. And then a few days later, on March 1st, I used this to seed a bracket and came out with the first ever matchup of Girl Scout cookies versus Parks and Recreation. Girl Scout cookies won. And with 138 replies, it did really well. And as the month went on and matchups kept going toward the championship, it got more and more people involved. People were telling their friends, until finally we had the epic conclusion, cats versus dogs. 630 votes came in from people. They were telling their friends, hey, you got to come check this thing out. And cats needs your support, or dogs needs your support. Come in and do this thing. And before I knew it, my Facebook inbox was full of messages from people I had never met who were like, I love what you're doing. I don't know who you are. I want to be your friend. I love this March Gladness thing. You got to check this out. One of my personal favorites is the person in the center here who's actually a teacher. She's an elementary school teacher, and she brings this in to do with her students. So they sit down and they go through the whole bracket and decide who's going to win, and then they make it a big deal every year. I've heard of coworkers doing this, I've heard of spouses doing this, and I've got a ton of great messages, including maybe my favorite message of all time, which, well, I think I'll just let you read for yourself. So I guess I hope you're doing well then. Well, as it turned out, I actually would need to unfriend some people because I quickly hit the cap on Facebook. You can only have 5,000 friends, which I didn't know. Don't worry, you can also go follow me. That's a great feature on Facebook for your March Gladness updates. But I couldn't add any more friends because I was building up this great community. And I love the March Gladness community. They come around every year. A couple years ago, Mr. Rogers was a candidate in March Gladness, and people would come in and tell and post their favorite Mr. Rogers quotes or stories, teach people from Europe or Asia who Mr. Rogers was and why he was so important. And every year, people look forward to this. And I think many people out here could do exactly the same thing. If you're a chef, you could post on Facebook every day with a new recipe. Or if you're a photographer, you could post up a new photo every day. Pick a month, give it a goofy name, and go for it. But I know what you all really want to know, and that's what the 5 winners are from the previous years. So here are your 5 champions: dogs, pizza, hugging, Mr. Rogers, and seeing someone enjoy a gift you gave. All important stuff. And tonight at Ignite, you've been voting. So are you ready to choose your champion for tonight? Okay, in the finals, we've got 2 things. They're going to be sunshine and 3-day weekends, okay? So I need your votes. Choose. Who wants sunshine to win? Who wants 3-day weekends? Sunshine. 3-day weekends. All right, folks, I think we have it. 3-day weekends is our champion at Ignite. And if you had fun doing this, take out your phones right now, take a picture of this slide, add me on Facebook, follow me. March Gladness will kick off on March 1st. But additionally, I've left the voting thread open, or the suggestion thread open, so you can come in and suggest what you think should win this year. So go on to my Facebook, leave a note right now. I'm going to make the bracket tomorrow night, so you've got a day to do this, and then I'll seed it with your suggestions. So go in, and you just might win. Hope you enjoyed my talk, and I will see you at the bar. Thank you so much.
I want you to stay up here for a second because like, clearly, you know, we flipped 2 sides of the same coin when we were dressing this morning. I don't know how this happened, but this band's amazing. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah. Cheers. All right. And what did I tell you? It's just simply one of the most amazing nights we've ever had. But I want to thank you, the audience, because your part in this is so critical. You made these speakers feel loved, and you made their stories important, and that's what this event is all about. It's about that community. That's why we want to see you on stage, and that's why your support for them and their stories is so important. So thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause. Okay, so now it's time to party. So, in case you've forgotten, the after party is at the Hideout. This map is terrible. Use your phone because your phone is better than this map. But the Hideout's not far away. I promise you, you can walk there. You won't freeze to death. It's great. So if you have time, if you want to talk about the night, please join us. And sign up for the next Ignite. Get your tickets for $5 tonight. And submit your talks because we want to see you up here. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.